really good at this. Okay, so my name is Sahara Drac. I am from a Heroes of the Storm fan site named stormlegacy.com, and this is Nexus Drafthouse. It's all about drafting, and the reason I wanted to do this show is because I feel it's a very underappreciated, undervalued part of the game. And thank you, Caldor. I appreciate you, man. And I feel like with Season 1 coming up, there's no better time to learn this crucial part of the game to make yourself a better player than right now. And we've got experts, and tonight's expert is none other than Eugene Seng, a.k.a. Yuuj, a man I've seen participate in 2 Heroes of the Dorms live, and a man who now plays for Panda Global and is quite good at the old Heroes of the Storm. So, how's it going, man? Let's try again. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. All right. So, like I was saying, something I like to do before we start is ask a few questions, just so people can get to know the guest a little bit. I don't know.
Yep.
So, I like to ask the questions I remember from the Street Fighter 2 biography screen for the characters. So, you can answer these however you want.
Okay.
Your name?
I'm Eugene Tseng from my in-game name is Yuuj.
Got it. Your height?
Yeah. I think I'm 5'10".
Okay, good.
I think that's my height.
Good height.
Yeah.
It's a strong height. Your home city?
Home city. That's actually okay. So I was born in Plano, but I moved to Taiwan when I was like 7. So then, I lived in Taiwan for a good amount of my life, and I came back to the U.S. for college.
Gotcha.
Actually,
I have spent a lot of time in Plano, actually. I spent a lot of my childhood in Plano, and big Rangers fan and all that. So, what else is on the Street Fighter? Oh, fighting style, obviously.
fighting style. Let's just say I like to outsmart my opponents and
All right, there you go.
win without really having to fight and make them beat themselves.
He's a cerebral assassin. There you go. I like that. What else? Oh, of course, blood type.
Blood type. Okay, I actually don't remember this.
Nobody knows that. No,
I'm
it's in
either
Street
A.
Fighter.
All I know is I'm either A or B.
Okay, well,
And my sister's the other.
all right. Well,
I haven't had to mess with blood type
if
for.
there's ever an emergency,
so
it might be good to know. All right.
might be good to know.
I don't
Yeah.
know mine, so. All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so we have 2 drafts for you today that we're going to go over in depth, step by step. We're going to pick Yuji's brain and see how he thinks about the draft, and hopefully let some of those lessons soak down into your brain, so when you're in Hero League or Team League or in your Chair League games or whatever it is, you can draft to the best of your ability. So the first game we have is from last week's Burbank qualifiers, or I'm sorry, not qualifiers, the playoffs in Burbank last week. It is from Game 2 between Panda Global and Tempo Storm. And it was on Sky Temple, and I forgot to turn off Twitch alerts. So the sound's going off, but okay. Thank you for the follow.
Okay.
Thank you for the follow. It is on Sky Temple, and yeah, it was a pretty good game. I thought the draft was interesting, so that's what we're going to go over. Thank you to Baba Booey for the idea. Last week we were trying to go down for the draft, but all the draft sites have a time limit, obviously, so we couldn't take the time we needed. So he suggested using a PowerPoint presentation, which I haven't used since like 8th grade.
Okay.
But,
That's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. See if I set this up right. Yeah, okay, move this window. All right. So there we have Tempo Storm on the left and Panda Global on the right. And yeah, we're gonna do this. So the first thing that happened. Oh, I'm sorry. But actually, before we start, you're on Sky Temple. It's your second game, so it's a closeout game for you. What sort of things are you thinking, just in general, about this map? Like when you see Sky Temple, you're like, what occurs to you? First things first.
Okay, so Sky Temple for us was a comfort map for us. We actually chose that map.
Okay.
So we were going into that map, pretty confident in our own skill. It's one of those maps where first pick and second pick matter less.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're able to choose that map, you're able to have an advantage to some sort of extent, in my opinion. In my opinion, anyways, because
Right. Oh,
being a like it doesn't give the other team the advantage of having first pick.
right. Okay. I actually
So
had never thought of that. That's a good point. Uh, what kind of heroes are strong on this map?
so there's a lot of different ways to play the map. You can either go for a push style comp, or you can go for point control. Point control is where you just like sit on the temples and you let the temples kind of just win the game for you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's two ways to approach it. If you go for a push style with like, Sylvanas or something, you can push down towers really quickly and, just get value out of every turn in that every not turn in every temple that you actually
Hmm.
capture. And, so
So
when you go into the draft, those are like the two main things you need to pay attention to.
okay. So this map and maybe Blackheart's Bay are kind of the more what's called like PVE maps. Like basically the map can win the game for you, and so
Yeah,
you
well,
can draft
to
in
some
that
extent,
style.
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
the
Of
map can win
course.
the game.
Right. If you win the map, you win the game. That's not true. It's true in every map, but it's more true in others. You know what I mean? Is that
Yeah,
so? That's how you
of
should
course.
approach the draft. Okay. All right. So the first thing that happens here is Tempo Storm. Oh, and I do use fan art for these. That's Illidan.
Okay.
They're much more clear on the bigger pictures. I thought, hey, why not? Fan art is fun, and I will be putting the links to all these fan artists' pages in the YouTube video. Just get some cool alternate art out there. So the first band from Tempo Storm was Illidan.
Mhm. So Illidan's basically, right now, Illidan is one of the most, I'd say, OP, not really OP, just like really, really strong
He's
hero.
scary. Yeah.
He's scary. You basically, by picking Illidan, you're saying, we need to build a team comp around Illidan.
Right. Right. He's
Or
like
we need to build a team comp to defend against Illidan.
right.
Like
He
he controls the way the draft goes. So
right.
people just
He
don't
has
want to deal
taunt.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he
And
comes out and everyone has to react to just him his mere presence. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. And so, people just don't want to deal with it. He's really strong, so people just ban Illidan, and that's basically it.
Hmm. Okay. So your band then came out, and that was the Tassadar. So
So
so tell us about Tassadar.
pretty standard. Tassadar is right now. Tassadar is one of most the strongest enabler heroes because a lot of teams nowadays like to run double support, and
Hmm.
Tas is obviously a priority because when you can Tas shield, you can shield up your tank. Your tank can move in and take damage, and it just makes it really really hard to focus down one target, especially with all the CC nerfs.
Hmm.
It task gets just way more value. You can't lock down a target long enough, and Tassadar is just he's hard to kill as well. So
Right.
he's very very annoying to play against, and teams just they kind of ban him out just so be like, hey, you can't run Task Sonya, Task Thrall, like
Hmm.
any of those comps that really allow melee assassin to just wreak havoc on your back line.
Right. So a lot of times heroes in MOBAs or in any game, the Jack he's kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? Like he can clear waves, he can help other heroes. He has very good survivability. He's got pretty good movement. He's kind of this Renaissance man hero, and a lot of times that makes them weaker in every department. But that's
Yeah.
not the case with Tassadar, is it? Like, uh,
His wave clear is okay. It's
right.
not that bad. Like
Hmm.
he can be used as a solo laner. He can, you can just rotate with him, wave clear. You can get you have vision. He's all around a pretty solid jack of all trades hero. Like
Right.
he doesn't do damage. His damage
Yeah.
is like whatever, but he covers a lot of the bases that you need to get when you're trying to build a team comp.
And he even has a some semblance of CC with Force Wall. So yeah, he does a lot. But he's a hero that's hard to draft in or ban out in Hero League and things because he doesn't just play himself, right? Like there has
Yeah.
to be good communication. There has to be a lot going on to make Tassadar as strong as he is to be worthy of this ban.
I mean, you need to be communicating with your team and your like Tastar himself can't do as much,
Right.
but say like Tastar with, you know, a melee assassin that they are communicating with.
Hmm.
The Tastar enables the melee assassin to play very, very aggressive. So say if you're playing Hero League, you could go you could duel with your friend and be like Tas and a melee assassin. Or
Right.
like Task Tracer or something
Right,
like that.
right, yeah. The
You know,
synergy,
like
yeah.
that when you have that's just like a strategy you can do with Tastar. But Tastar just basically enables a lot of heroes to play aggressively and do more than they normally could.
Okay, that's very good. All right, are you ready to move to the first pick from Tempo Storm?
Yeah.
All right. So the first pick coming out from Tempo Storm was Kael'thas himself. He, considered by many to be the most powerful hero in the game, and often banned. What is it about Kael'thas for you on this map that made Tassadar a higher priority for ban?
Well, the thing with Kel'Thas is he doesn't have an escape. Like he's good, but he's not that good.
Right.
He doesn't make it so that the other team can basically pick anything and you have a problem dealing with it.
Right.
Because Test like KT is annoying. He just does a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perception of it. He does a lot of damage and he has a stun.
Right.
But he's immobile. You can kill him. He has weaknesses. Whereas Tassadar is one of those heroes. He doesn't really have a weakness.
Right.
It's just
And Illidan has
annoying.
weaknesses, but you have to invest a lot to
Yeah,
to
you have to
get to
invest a lot
those.
to deal with. Whereas Kael'thas is just he's a strong hero.
Right.
So
And the other thing I was thinking about Kael'thas, especially on a map like Sky Temple, that I think a lot of people on BattleNet might not think about, his mobility is very low, and in Sky Temple's a very tall map. So like his rotations, it can take him a long time to get where he needs to get to contribute. So that's another factor for Kael'thas. Obviously, he's still a very great hero. That's why he's first picked here. He does blow people up. Anything else you wanted to say about Kael'thas?
Not really. He's just a really strong hero. So it's a pretty standard first pick. It's
Is.
expected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what is if this happens to you, which it did, or it happens to any of us, what kind of thinking before we show your picks? What sort of things should you be thinking about?
Well, to get to Kael'thas, you're thinking what can enable Kael'thas? What is Kael'thas capable of doing? Well, Kael'thas can, he's possible to burst someone, but what does he need
Mm-hmm.
to, actually be useful?
Right. Okay.
He needs someone to initiate for him. He's a follow-up character. Or sometimes if you're really really good like Zuna, then you don't need the follow-up, but generally
He
he
needs
needs to be
backup.
following up. He's a follow-up hero. He's not the guy that starts a fight by throwing his stun.
Right.
His stun is okay, so my tank threw a stun, I follow up with a stun and then I blow up the target. So he has to have a stun tank for him to be effective.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. So let's see
So
what you did end up picking up here. You got Rhaegar and Muradin.
yeah. So we pick up Rhaegar. Rhaegar ultimately, literally, just hands down best healer in the game
Mm-hmm.
right now. One of the best healers in the game.
Yeah, he keeps coming
So
back as that too. Like they try to fix him, and then he's like, "No, I'm still here. I'm the best healer. Like I'm not
yeah,
going anywhere."
he's just the best healer in the game. So we just take him,
Right.
and it doesn't really show anything because he's also the most versatile. One of
And
the
what?
most versatile heroes.
And yeah, it's not necessarily his healing output that makes him the best healer, right?
Yeah. It's not necessarily like he does heal a lot
Mm-hmm.
still, but it's more like he has a lot of utility. His slow totem's really good, and then the burst heal. If you get a good ancestral off, you pretty much essentially win the fight.
Right. So yeah, high priority on Rhaegar going into your games until maybe something changes with him or other healers. And the Muradin, that's for the just basically to lock down on the Kael'thas, or
So
what's the
Muradin
early Muradin?
is the early Muradin. Okay, so Muradin's base is one of the best tanks in the game. Even though he's been nerfed a little, he's
Mm-hmm.
still like really really strong. So what we're looking with the Muradin is, hey, they have a Kael'thas. They need a stun tank. Like I mentioned before, you need a stun tank. And Muradin just being one of the best tanks, we decided to pick him up. Like B-Kid's known for being a really good Muradin,
Mm-hmm.
so it's also a comfort pick for him. And so we pick it up. We just decide, hey, we're gonna pick up Muradin. We don't really show anything with our comp here by picking up Muradin, and it's a
Right.
deny. At the same time, it's also a deny for Temple Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
we're
of what
not.
you said with Kael'thas needing a tank to stun.
So we just kind of deny it, and then we're not showing anything. We're trying to see what Temple wants to do, and so we just pick up a pretty a solid first two picks. We're not showing anything, but they're very very solid picks, and we're gonna see what they're gonna do.
Okay. All right. So let's see what let's see what they do come out with. It's the Uther and the Thrall there. So yeah, Uther and Thrall. Tell us about it.
Uther and Thrall. Pretty much, I'm thinking, hey, the reason they want Uther is because they don't want us to ban it. They want to build a comp that involves Uther,
Uh huh.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean,
so they want to kind of divey comp, and we're like, so for them, they probably. I'm thinking from the tempo side, they're looking to dive. They want to make aggressive plays, right?
hmm
But then and usually the healers for that are Rhaegar, Uther, and Karazim, right?
So would
So
you say?
they're
I'm sorry. Would you say Uther's your next best healer after Rhaegar?
yeah,
Okay.
typically like right now this is like for the meta at the time for the meta really. Uther is the next best healer for a dive comp for like you want to protect someone.
hmm
So Uther's the next best option.
Right.
And
So
so they'd pick up Uther so we wouldn't ban it.
right. Okay. Yeah, because then they're kind of in dire straits as far as a support goes, as far as a healer. The healing goes for Kael'thas, and he also provides that stun that Kael'thas needs as well, that initiate. So tell us about the. I don't know if you noticed my Uther fan art, but it's pretty awesome.
Okay.
I wanted to see your poker face when it came up. Tell us about the Thrall, though. Thrall is a very frequently. Sorry, I keep looking at it. Avert your eyes. Thrall is a very frequently picked up assassin in on this level of play, and in actually all levels of play. What is it? Is it Thrall's poke? What is it with the Kael'thas and the Uther here that you think that made them? What is great about
So
Thrall?
picking up Thrall, they want to secure a solo lane because Thrall is a very very strong solo lane. He doesn't lose to. I think he basically wins the lane against almost everyone.
Right.
Like he doesn't. He can't. He goes even with some lanes, but overall you don't really lose lane. So Thrall's a very very strong solo lane. So I assume that's why they wanted to pick it up to secure that
hmm
before we actually before we get into the next phase, and then we have the Panda global. Like we have the chance to pick our solo lane first, and Thrall's the most dominant pick there. He
Right.
also has a lot of disruption with his backline. He's a very solid melee assassin.
Okay.
So they
So.
just pick him up.
Oh yeah. So at this point in the game, we're about to get our second bans in. You're sitting over there drafting with your team on Panda Global. What kind of discussions are you having after seeing these 5 picks and 2 bans? What's going through your guys' heads? And I mean, you don't have to be specific. Be like, well, this is our crazy strat, but like, just kind of general themes of what sort of things you should prioritize at this point in the draft.
So at this point in the draft, we're just looking at what they have, what they need
hmm
to make out their comp. And like I said before, KT needs a stun tank, so we just banned ETC because it's the other stun tank.
Right. Okay.
So that was our answer. We just banned ETC.
All right, yeah, there he is, the ETC. So another question I have is, and I asked this of the last couple guests, what's, I guess, proportionately, how much are you trying to draft your comp, and how much are you trying to counter their comp?
So when you look at your draft, you want to draft a comp that makes sense for you, but at the same time, you want to deny the other team from a comp that is, you want to deny them from a really, really good comp, like what they're going for. So you kind of look objectively and think, what could they build with what they have?
hmm
So being able to read what the enemy team is trying to draft and take picks away from them is extremely important.
Right. Okay.
Just deny them what they want. And if like you could think about like, hey, I could pick this up instead of them, you know, we could do something.
Right.
It's just
So
figuring out what they want.
it's interesting. This is my favorite question I asked so far because it's interesting to hear the different answers. Um, how often are you picking heroes to deny versus just using the ban phase to deny? Is it like pretty frequently or?
It's both. If you don't like banning is for something, it's like you would ban something that you don't want to pick.
Mhm.
Whereas if you would want to pick to deny it, and this makes sense in your comp, I would pick it. You
Okay.
just ban if you're not gonna like you don't want to deal with something, or you think they're gonna pick it up,
Mhm.
or like for first bans, it's if you think they're gonna pick it up super early, or for the second ban, it's what do I want to ban that I don't want? I don't want to pick,
Right. Okay.
but I don't want them to pick either.
I get you. Yeah. So that's something I struggle with in my drafts a lot. Is someone on my team will be like, they'll be like, we have to take this hero. It counters their pick, and it's like, I don't know how to play that. I mean, I kind of play that hero. Obviously your hero pool matters a lot when making those kind of decisions.
Yeah.
So that's what makes the draft so intricate and interesting to me. Is it's not just rock paper scissors. It's also about your players and your players' abilities and hero pools and things like that. So the ban that came out from Tempo Storm was Sonya. I couldn't find. Oh no, I did find awesome Sonya fan art. But anyways, there's the Sonya deny from Tempo Storm. Was Sonya something that you would put in this comp? Was that a good ban?
Well, Sonya is, another, pretty solid solo laner. A lot of teams have been playing a lot of Sonya recently. Sonya is pretty good with Rhaegar,
Mm-hmm.
so I could see it coming.
Sure. She's kind of like she has the same strengths as Thrall in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Okay.
she has similar strengths, but in team fights they do different things.
Right. He
And
has
so
that.
what
He has
you know,
that ult. Yeah. I mean, Sunder's such a big deal. So. Yeah. All right. So next, you guys drafted the Falstad and the Greymane. So you got your damage on the team now. And what made you pick these two guys?
All right, so Greymane is, we look at their comp. They have a KT Uther Thrall. And we look at it and we're thinking Greymane would be insanely good in their team comp, and it would absolutely destroy us if they got Greymane.
Okay, so that's a
Because
deny.
they could just D-shield Greymane. They could Thrall Sunder, Greymane, D-shield, Uther. Greymane just D-shield. I mean, Uther just D-shields the Greymane.
Mm-hmm.
And then on whoever was on our backline's instant dead.
Right. Okay.
Like we can't. It's really, really hard to stop. And so we didn't want to deal with that. So we're like, okay, we're gonna pick up Greymane. It's not that bad. It's still a pretty good comp.
Mm-hmm.
Still a pretty good pick. Tomster's a really good Greymane.
That's true. He's
So
famous for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's famous for being a good Greymane. But Psalm also is a pretty good Greymane.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, hey, we're gonna give Psalm Greymane. It's also one of Psalm's comfort picks.
Okay.
We just gave him Greymane, and then decided what we're gonna do from there.
Okay.
And then Falstad we picked up for the global. Globals are very, very good when it comes to just
Well, plus
it's just
Sky
a
Temple.
global presence. Like when you have a Falstad on the map, you can pick your fights how you want them, and it's also disengaged for Thrall if Thrall Sunders.
Right, and
You
the
can
fact
reset the
that
fight.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna add is if does having the Falstad opposing you, does that change your whole playstyle throughout the game as a team? Like, are you knowing he's out there? Same thing with Brightwing, things like that. Uh, I mean, obviously it does change your playstyle somewhat, but is that one of the reasons you take Falstad is to kind of force them into a certain kind of style?
All right, so right now we know exactly we know what tank they're gonna pick next because of a knowledge of the enemy team's hero pool, and B just generally what the best pick would be for them.
Okay.
We basically expect that they're gonna pick Johanna
Right.
at this point, and so we're saying, okay, the only engage they have with the Johanna is the shield from Johanna. If we can get Falstad and we just reset the fight when she throws her shield, they will never have an engage.
Okay.
Then Thrall engaging with Sunder is not the best idea half the time.
Right.
You want to use Sunder as a disruption. So we just leave that there.
So is there another warrior, Dahaka, an Uberak with the rework, Arthas? Is there any warrior that they could have taken instead of the Johanna? Or are you fair? Are you super
I think a Nubarak would have been pretty good here for them, but we weren't really expecting them to pick a Nubarak. A Nubarak isn't something that you can learn very easily. A Nubarak's it's hard to play him well unless you actually know what you're doing. So we didn't really expect them to pick a Nubarak because it's kind of more out there pick where it can work in scenarios, but we just didn't. We weren't expecting them to pick it. If they did pick it, we would have tried to deal with it in some way. But we didn't really expect it because from what it seemed like, they needed like some sort of front line, whereas Anubrak doesn't really apply a front line as much.
Okay. So yeah, Johanna. So they do end up picking up the Johanna and the Zeratul there, which we'll get to. So the Johanna, basically, your point here is basically through your draft, through your bans and picks, you force them onto kind of like a passive tank who can't really get in your face, right? Can't initiate.
Yeah.
She tanks like a monster, but like that's kind of all she does, sort of.
Yeah,
And
but they
one,
can't really engage. They
right,
they tank, but they can't engage. She's just gonna get poked down.
right. So is that what the Zeratul pick is about? Is trying to compensate for some of that?
I believe it's some sort of way to allow them to get onto us.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeratul is known for being very very good against Falstad,
Right.
and like just Falstad and Greymane in general. It allows Zeratul to get into your backline, do things you want, and do the sort of engage they really really want.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of a way I think I've learned lately to draft is there's only so many tanks, there's only so many healers, and if they're neglecting one of those roles for long enough, you can force them into maybe a less than ideal character in that role, and that's part of the game of drafting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So for the 10th pick, you guys did pick up Zool. That's the best art I could find. I don't know. We need more people out there drawing Zool. Go ahead.
The funny thing about Zool was we got there like, wait a minute, we have no wave clear, and so we're like, okay, what do we pick? I think we pick Zool because we need wave clear, and Poison Nova is really really good against an Uther because Uther can't heal that.
Right, right.
Like Uther actually can't heal that.
Right.
So we're just like, okay, let's just pick Zool because we need wave clear. We need some sort of way to actually clear waves. We thought about Sylvanas, but then we'd have like triple backline. Greymane doesn't really count as well, for sake of classifying team comps, Greymane doesn't count as a melee assassin. He counts as a ranged assassin.
Right, right, yeah. I mean,
so we're just like, we need a body in the front line. We need wave clear. I think Zul's the pick here, and so we just pick Zul.
Okay, that's funny. So there's a lot of things to think about during a draft, right? And sometimes you can forget certain aspects of everything you need. So yeah, that's funny to hear that was kind of an oh shit moment. Like we need Zul, like we need wave clear.
Yeah.
So that's straight up what he's about there is the wave clear.
The Zul is just pretty much the wave clear. Yeah.
Okay, and the ult, like you said. All right, so this game, I don't have footage of this game right now. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to patch together a video. We'll be doing that in future episodes. But basically, the way the game went, you guys ended up winning in a pretty close match. Do you remember much about that game?
I don't know if it was a close match, but
well, let me say the levels were close for a while. Yeah, at least I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what about your draft? Do you think gave you that win?
Pretty much we had that global pressure, and it basically when you have global pressure, you put the pressure on the other team to make a play. Mm-hmm. Because if you can just have a false side soaking other lanes, like you can pull their team to places where they have to respond to the false set, and so we can kind of pull with 4 people on another lane with Zol. We have the pressure, and we can pull their entire team down. So it'd be like 4-1 split, and then Falstad can fly down, and we can engage in a 5v4.
Right. So initiation power is your draft strength, you think here?
Well, it's global presence, and we just are able to make them fight fights that we want to fight.
Right. Control the flow. Okay.
Yeah, we basically had control of the flow of the game with our. I feel like we had more control of the flow of the game with our draft than they did.
Yeah. And now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into the game beyond the draft. There's a lot of gameplay decisions that affect the outcome of the game. But the draft is kind of like the starting point for how the story of the game will go. If you could change anything on your side in this draft, obviously, you won, so you would need to change a lot. But looking at it now, is there anything you could tweak to make it maybe even more ideal?
Our draft, I don't know. I think we might have. There might have been some things we would change, but I think we drafted this. Like, I think we kind of outdrafted them in this game. So
honestly, I love playing Johanna, but I always end up thinking whenever I see a draft, I'm always thinking the team with the Johanna's losing the draft because of those reasons you said. I'm just like, she's just not aggressive enough, like, I don't know.
Like their team comp we were looking at is like they can't do anything to level 10.
Right.
They basically don't have half their engage tools to level 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so we basically can control the game. If we win enough pre-10, we
Mm-hmm.
win the game.
Right.
We can just snowball it.
Okay.
So they didn't. And then, once they hit 10, it was be careful. They're going to try to do something here.
Got it.
And then we just, we were ready for it. And then kind of outplay them from there.
Yeah, well, it worked out. So yeah, it was actually pretty good games there. Next we have a draft. We have a draft from a team league game I played last night, and this is for we're gonna get some expert analysis on what's going on down in the trenches with us grunts trying to just trying to survive in team league, man. Like, so it's
Team League is a lot of fun.
I love Team League. I think it's great. I wish I had played more of it. I'm going to play a lot more starting season 1. So during this draft, obviously you're not going to be able to, get super pro meta talk going, but you can definitely, I think, give some good advice here. So give me just a moment to open this up. Got to find it. All these hard drives everywhere. All right. It's called Game 2, We Suck. Alright. So, spoiler alert, we get thrashed this game. We get absolutely demolished this game. So we're heading into Team League. We haven't played a whole lot together. It's me and some friends from, various hot sites and things like that. Streamers and just friends of mine. And we get in the draft, and there it is. The first thing that we do, and you can see on the left there, it's Sahara's team. That's me. The first thing we do, I'm actually the person banning and drafting in this, but I'm just listening. I'm just like, what do you want? What do you want? I should say what map we're on. This is on Towers of Doom. So obviously Towers of Doom, a very unique map. So before we get into the bans and stuff, what kind of map is Towers of Doom? What sort of things are strong on Towers of Doom? How should you be thinking about Towers of Doom?
Towers of Doom is it's an interesting map because you don't really need to focus too much on wave clear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can also lose by having no wave clear, if you get what I mean. Because
yes.
there are push strats. Like, Towers of Doom is one of the most versatile maps in the game. Like, there are so many strategies you can run, so many ways to play that map that
I like it.
sometimes it's easier just to ban the map in competitive, but like,
no choice in Team League.
In Team League, you just kind of run with it. So,
what sort of things are strong on here? Like, is global presence even better on this map? That's what we were thinking with this.
Well, globals are very, very good on this map as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Falstad ban is pretty reasonable.
Right.
Falstad is because Falstad's able to stay in the top lane, fly down, and do a team fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way the what's it called? The altars.
Yeah.
The altars are spread for the first and the fifth.
Yes.
Spawn, you need to be able to react to it, and having a global allows you to just, play it. You can stall, you can use the global to get soak. You have it's very versatile in how you can use it.
That's actually
how you can play around the altars.
That's actually why I like stage dive on this map, but I'm kind of weird though. So, but I love stage dive on this map. I think it's great. So we do ban out the Falstad. They ban Kael'thas, pretty standard. Just that happens a lot in on Battle.net. You're never. I love Kael'thas. I love playing him. I haven't played him in months because you just can't get through. So that's. I mean, do you think Kael'thas is stronger on this map, weaker on this map? Obviously, you don't think he's a huge deal, but
I mean, Kael'thas is still pretty good on this map. Kael'thas is just all around good hero.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Really, at the end of the day, Kael'thas is an all-around good hero. You can pick him on any map. Like, he will be there for a while.
Yeah.
So, banning him isn't really anything out of the ordinary.
So, the next thing that happens, and this is the most common thing that happens in Battle.net drafts, is they ban the Kael'thas, and so you can get the Li Ming.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And we didn't see Li Ming actually even interacted with in your game. But obviously she's a great hero and a very high priority.
You can pick Li Ming, but there are certain things where she's good,
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes there are things that take priority over just having a strong Li Ming
Right.
because she's squishy. If you're going against a dive comp, it is really really annoying to play Li Ming
Right. So.
because you have to kind of talent and position in a way where you have to play a lot farther back, to play safer.
Mm-hmm.
We'd considered Li Ming, but we ended up opting for another strategy because we had to pick up the Gray Mane. And Gray Mane with Li Ming is still good, but not as good as having like a false stat with a global or something.
Okay.
But Li Ming, picking up Li Ming means you secure a mage when KT's banned.
Right. That's what the thinking was here for sure. Um, so the enemy team went ahead and picked up Tracer and Artanis. What do you think of the Tracer first pick for them? And yeah, Artanis.
I mean, I'm guessing they're just picking whatever they're
Right.
comfortable with and want
Yeah.
to play with.
Yeah. I
I
mean.
wouldn't say much about Tracer Artanis. Like Tracer Artanis is just Tracer's a really strong hero. You can pick her,
Mhm.
and
But that
she's
does.
just
Oh,
versatile. She's really good against Li Ming.
yes, very true. But that does open up a bigger question, though, about how you draft on BattleNet. And obviously, this is Team League, so you have communication with everyone on your team. But should you should you constantly try to how much meta slave versus comfort pick should you kind of
All right,
think about? You know.
comfort basically meta slave means like if you're playing the meta, it
Mm-hmm.
means you can afford more mistakes to win the game. But when you're playing your comfort heroes, and if they don't actually make sense in a team comp, that means you can make if your team comp is worse, it basically says I can make less mistakes.
Right.
Because if I fall too far behind, I lose the game because it's way too hard. It becomes harder and harder to come back.
Right.
Whereas
So.
if you have a really really strong meta comp, you can just destroy the other team even if
Right.
you're behind.
So meta slave equals less penalties for your mistakes, but comfort picks equals less mistakes.
Yeah,
So you would tend to lean towards just less mistakes, I would think, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, you can tend to lean for less mistakes. It's generally a better idea to go for less mistakes.
yeah. Well, that's good.
You're,
That's a good way to word it. I like that. Yeah, thank you.
so like when you get to the top, you have to play the meta because
Right.
to
Right.
some extent,
Yeah.
because you play the meta, then you have less. There's less room for error.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So all right. So you're on our team. You're Sahara sitting on stream. You're like, okay, what are we picking? What would you pick at this point?
At this point, I want to pick up. I would just pick up Rhaegar right now because if you're going super try hard,
Mm-hmm.
you would pick up Rhaegar because Rhaegar is
It's team
the
league. You gotta try hard. Yeah.
premier healer. You
Yeah.
pick up Rhaegar. He's the premier healer.
Right.
And then you would look to pick up like, what you'd pick up a CC tank. While you need to lock down the Tracer, you locked Artanis. The best tank for doing this is ETC
Okay.
because ETC can kind of just get onto Tracer, and then if you get onto Tracer, Tracer's dead.
Right.
Especially with the Li Ming, like trace into ETC Li Ming. If the Tracer gets caught, and ETC and Li Ming like coordinate
Lower,
correctly,
yeah.
Tracer's pretty much dead.
Right. So you see,
Oh.
the ETC's he's definitely one of the most mobile tanks. So you think his mobility and stuns is what makes him a good choice against Tracer?
Pretty much. You need lockdown.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he can get to her, right? Like he doesn't have to just like walk at her. Yeah.
Yeah, like Murden can kind of just has to throw a stun, and she can. It's easier to dodge, whereas
Right.
it's a little bit harder to dodge like ETC because it's like
Well, you can get the wide slide and all that. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that's very good advice. Rhaegar ETC. That sounds great. Let's see what we picked. So there's Malfurion and Zool. I don't.
All right, Zol is
I don't
okay.
know-
He's
I
not
don't
that
know.
good on this map though.
I don't know what happened here, but that's what happened. So tell us why Malf maybe not such a good choice here.
Well, Melf is probably the worst healer, one of the worst healers in the game. But
But see,
I mean,
a lot of us don't
there are
understand
strategies.
why.
There are strategies you can use Melf. The thing with Melf is the fact that his heals take a while
too
to
long.
kick in.
Uh-huh.
So the game has so much burst right now that having to wait
Mm-hmm.
for a while for a heal to kick in, the guy you're healing is just gonna die.
Right.
That's why you have Rhaegar, Uther, and Karazim being like the top healers
Hmm.
because they're burst healers and they're able to keep people alive when they're focused.
Okay.
So like those are that's why they're top healers in the game right now.
What kind
Whereas
of?
Mouth is just kind of
He's
I'm
just
there.
he's just like this heal bot that's very slow. Yeah. What kind of strategies and comps can you work Mouth with?
All right. So personally, for me against a Tracer, I would take Twilight Dream on Mouth.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure, she
Right
can
now,
blink.
because Tracer gets in, when she blinks in, you silence her, she's dead.
Oh, that's great. I never even
Like
thought of that.
that
Yeah.
is pretty much what I would go with here. Like
Okay.
you cannot like if you ever picking Mouth, 90% of the time you're going Twilight Dream
Right.
because
Really?
you need a secondary healer.
Okay. Interesting.
Because now,
See,
that's now nowadays
I never
nowadays
take
though.
that. Yeah. See,
Nowadays, in the
I'll,
past, it used to be like Trank. Trank was the thing.
right,
But
right.
nowadays, taking Twilight Dream, now Mouth is just
He has a great
way
ult.
better.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, you
Oh, I
see
did not know that.
Dark Chimeras in the chat here going, Mouth is amazing. I'm like, well, yeah, Twilight Dream. Like, if you go Twilight Dream, it's great. But if you don't, it's kind of like, well,
Yeah.
Trank doesn't do that much.
Well, spoiler alert, I was the mouth, and I took Trank, so, yeah.
Well, now you know
Yeah.
Twilight Dream. I mean, Zol, Mouth, Li Ming, you have a lot of lockdown.
Hmm.
And fun fact with Mouth and Artanis, if Artanis cues in the Mouth's root, he gets rooted,
Oh,
and he doesn't
stops
go
on
back.
it. Ah.
He doesn't go back. He gets stuck.
He's like, whoops. Oh, nice. I actually think I had seen that before. Okay. So next thing that comes out is the bans. They ban that's the Muradin from before, and we ban Rhaegar because we picked up the Malf. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. We know. So the reason we didn't get Rhaegar, the reason we got Malf, I don't play Rhaegar. I have it at like level 5 or something.
Yeah, and see,
Yeah,
I understand that. Like,
yeah,
that's just not having the
yeah,
hero pool. It's
yeah. And nobody
pretty
on the team
standard.
apparently played Rhaegar, so it was just kind of like, oh, damn it, So yeah, that's what happened there. And sometimes that's gonna happen, right? Like you're just gonna be in a situation where you're like, well, I guess we just can't pick that hero. And who do we? Oh, yeah, we banned the Rhaegar. They banned a Muradin because they see we don't have a tank. And then they pick up Sonya Tassadar, which, if you watched Burbank last week, a very good combination.
Okay. Yeah, Sonya Tass, always been really good. Tass also has a lot of synergy with Tracer and Artanis.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. So
Tass just enables all of them.
yeah.
Because with Tracer, you can, like, he can heal off her autos, and that just makes her a lot stronger, gives her sustain. Artanis means he can stay in there and keep autoing for a very, very long time and just not ever die because his shield will keep regenerating
Right.
once he's at half. And so it's really good for him. And then
So
Sonya she can go in.
so if this team could draft Tassadar twice, they probably should. Like.
Well, yeah, like
Yeah.
their comp is really, really good right now. Now that you think about it, like
Yeah, it is.
they were able to get Sonya Tassadar. Like
Yeah.
normally you're not ever this is like that exact reason is why Tassadar is not allowed in competitive because well, basically
Right.
banned a
He's always
lot
banned. Yeah.
because he's able to enable a lot of heroes
Yeah.
in the same way Rhaegar used to enable a lot of heroes.
Right, he enhances like 3/4 of the hero collection in the game, right? Like he's just
Yeah.
such a good enhancer for everybody. Yeah, I get it. So at this point, with the Muradin banned out, the Sonya Artanis taken, I think I was already on the Malf, and our player, whoever it was, I don't remember who, just didn't play ETC. So we end up with the Johanna, and here's the big spoiler of the game. The whole time we're drafting this game, DJ Tyrant is sitting in chat, and he's like, I'm getting Vikings. I have a 75 win percent with Vikings. We're doing Vikings. Vikings on Towers of Doom. Vikings. And so the whole time we're like, how do we draft around Vikings? I don't know. Like, what do we do? Are you sure? Like,
Vikings is really good on Towers of Doom.
oh, I know they are. I love Vikings. I think they're an awesome hero. Like,
That's a very interesting Vikings.
Oh, you like that? Yeah.
Okay.
My aunt bought me that game for Christmas when I was like 11. So yeah, there it is. How do you draft to help Lost Vikings? Because we were clearly clueless about it.
Vikings is one of those heroes that you need to create a comp where you can sit there and stall for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
You do almost have that comp, except for the Zul.
Right. So
So-
the blinds, the roots, the heals, the poke. Okay.
Yeah, you just want to be able to disrupt their altars, right? And then you just kind of don't let them ever cap, and then have Vikings run around.
Right. And just
And you get
soak,
ahead.
soak, soak. Yeah.
You do this by you win the game by getting ahead,
Hmm.
and then once you're ahead, you kind of you just fight them and you win, or
Right.
you have the Vikings cap the altars where you all go contest them, so they
Hmm.
can't so they can't ever do anything.
Right.
They always have to fight at the altar. When you're contesting the altar, you're actually stalling. You're not looking to fight. You're looking to disengage, just stop them from capping,
So
and pretty much your goal.
so here's what I'm wondering with this draft. The early Tracer pick, does Tracer worry you as a Vikings? Like obviously she's pretty good at killing like Eric and stuff.
Basically, any hero that is really good at killing Vikings is really bad for Vikings.
Right. So who are those heroes?
Falstaff's really good.
Hmm.
Tracer's really good. Zeratil's really good. Nova's really good.
Hmm.
Like anyone who can just get in on a Viking and just one shot one and just kill
Dive
them
burst kind of
and
like
just burst
yeah.
burst in, and then so that the Viking can't get the soak.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. So for the last pick, and this is what since the first ban, I was saying this in chat. I was like, and tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I have an irrational fear of this hero, but the whole time I'm like, do not. We have to ban Abathur. We have to take Abathur. Abathur's too good on
Uh,
this map. Abathur's crazy on this map, and we
and
didn't.
Abathur they picked as a reaction to the Vikings.
Right.
90% sure.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
Abathur Artanis is the most scary thing ever because
Yeah.
Artanis is going to tear through your team. You can't kill him. He's just going to slowly kill your team.
Right. Yeah.
And Abathur could just soak while I think they used it to match Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, you very well could be right. I mean, Abathur, his split push on this map's nice, and just with the comp they have, like the extra shields on Artanis, like you said, it's just and the AOE damage coming out of him. This Abathur, let me tell you, this Abathur destroyed us. He reamed us. He ripped us to shreds. This
Yeah, because the thing with Abathur is he can really mess with your rotations.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
with
with
the
the
mines.
mines. Oh God.
So, I know this firsthand because we ran Abathur Artanis during Heroes of the Dorm.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so Abathur Artanis is a really, really strong combination.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
I learned
basically
that
an
the hard way.
unkillable wall. With Artanis, you literally get in a fight and you don't leave.
Yeah,
You wait till the other team runs away.
just the
You
war
don't.
of
You never run.
attrition.
Do not run. If you're running as Artanis, you lost.
You're doing it wrong, right? Yeah.
In the
Well.
words of Prismaticism,
Uh-huh.
you are locked in honorable combat. The first one who runs is,
Yeah, the coward.
you
Yeah,
loses.
yeah,
Yeah.
loses his honor. Yeah, and that's why Artanis I think is so fun to play. He's just like so like in there all the time. And also just so strong with that Abathur. Yeah, he was giving me fits, man. I was trying to heal, and we have such a bad healer for this. Oh, it was just so. Yeah, no more spoiler alert needed. We got absolutely crushed that game, and I think a lot of it was because of that draft. Obviously,
I mean, their draft is pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie, that is a pretty scary draft, which is actually pretty smart too.
yeah,
Think about it. If you ever got that comp in competitive, I think that comp would actually destroy a lot of teams.
right. Yeah.
The
So
thing is, it's hard. You shouldn't be able to get that comp.
right, no, you shouldn't. And so that was kind of the more casual draft I wanted to look at, just for people who are experiencing things like that. But I think we got a lot of good information out of your you talking about your game from Burbank. Um, so yeah, any kind of broad stroke things you want to go over as far as drafting, just kind of draft philosophy you want to close out with for people to think about?
I mean, so drafting, pretty much, you need to draft towards what you think you're good at, what you want to play, and then at the same time deny what the other team wants to play. But you can't go to you need to do it to a point where your comp still makes sense and you can still like play your own game. And so you need to build strategies where you're denying and picking your own style of play.
Right. So
So you
that's the
kind of
number one
test,
goal.
like that's what we do in scrims is
Hmm.
you test all these comps and you test other teams' reactions to what you would do.
Okay.
Then eventually you can figure out like, hey, This is I want to make them. I want to make them think I'm going this strategy, and then do like a complete 180 and do another strategy.
And obviously,
That's yeah.
you're gonna have strategies on every map that are a little different, right? Like that's.
Yeah, and there you prioritize different heroes on different
Mm-hmm.
maps. So my favorite strategy is to to literally make a bunch of team comps where the starting few heroes are always the same.
Oh, really?
You start off like Rhaegar Muradin,
Mm-hmm.
then you literally have like 10 team comps that build off of Rhaegar Muradin.
Sure. Well, yeah.
So so
Then
that
you're protected.
you pick based on scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're practiced, and so you can just build off that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Obviously,
That's awesome.
that's like what I like. I like that, but
That's how
you
you
don't
train. Yeah.
always. I like doing that, but you don't always do that. I mean, because sometimes people just decide, hey, we're gonna ban what you prioritize, and we're gonna completely change up the draft strategy for the entire draft. So you still have to have a backup plan. But those are like general ideas to like if if you're not playing against like if it's like a best of one or
Mm-hmm.
something like those are like the types of what the direction you should go.
Right. Right.
As in like come up with a plan, like you know what the standard bans are, and then you just assume that they're gonna do the standard ban.
Right. So if you have a solid base draft in mind for the first few bits, like you say you practice with, then you kind of can kind of hold your cards for longer. Right? Is that another thing
Yeah,
about?
you can hold your cards longer,
Yeah.
and then whoever can hold their cards the longest usually wins the draft.
Right. Yeah. That's what I've
Then
noticed. Yeah.
and so
So.
you basically try and keep the other team guessing as long as possible.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you know that you guys are just like so much better with these heroes, this is what I want.
Right.
You just do whatever you can to get those heroes and just win the game.
Yeah. For
That
sure.
I think to some extent that's kind of what Naventic does. They take their heroes that they want
Right, like Zuna's
that
just like he's like
that
I play
they know are
Zeratul, I'm gonna
strong.
play Zeratul or whatever. Yeah, like
And
Kel'Thas.
that's how they draft. Like
Sure, and that's another thing I love about the hot scene and the way the game is teams can draft in their own style, and it's very apparent in a lot of games, and
yeah.
I think a lot of times it goes missed by the audience. So, yeah, that's one of my favorite parts for sure. I love the strategy of
Some teams have very insane drafts.
hmm
That's like you wonder what they're thinking, but sometimes it works out.
yeah
Like sometimes it's really smart, and then you just think about it. And a lot of the inspiration for this comes from Hero League.
yeah
'Cause despite like everyone hating on Hero League, some people come like because you're playing in such a variety of heroes in Hero League. Sometimes you see things that really stand out and really work.
right. It tests your ability to adapt to any situation. Really,
It's really
yeah,
interesting because you're like, huh, that actually makes a lot of sense. What if I took this in competitive and then
right,
made it work?
yeah,
Because sometimes people don't have the mechanical skill to actually pull off that combo, but they probably do it like once in
right.
the whole entire game, and you see it, and you're like, huh,
You
interesting.
exploit that, yeah. Exploit that, enhance it, make it better. Yeah, that's one thing I'm super excited about in the new season too. Is getting to kind of start over and figure out new things in the draft. That's sounds super fun to me. I like Hero League as much as I hate it. I like it. It's a love hate for sure. Well, Yuuj, is there anything else you got for us, or are you anything else about drafts before I take us away?
No, not really.
Okay, that's cool. Well, you did a great job tonight, man. I learned a lot. I'm sure the people in chat did. It was every time I talk to one of you guys, I have a moment where I'm like, oh, that's why that hero or that thing. I'm like, I get it now because there's so many things unless you play this game on the level you guys do with so much time in this game that you're just gonna never really catch on to. So it was good to
I mean,
hear
there's a
hear
lot
that
of
stuff.
stuff to learn.
There
Like,
is.
it's a lot of stuff that you're like, huh. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
critical thinking that goes into it because a lot of people like the theory craft, and it's a lot of fun to do that sometimes. I know for me, I like to, I like to bounce ideas off people.
You're a theory crafter.
I like to do that, but
Yeah.
sometimes my team just says I'm insane and doesn't. They're like,
No.
they don't want it. They don't want anything. They're like, no, you're no, you're dumb. No.
Well,
But
yeah.
one thing I like to do a lot is, Aquaface. I like to bounce ideas off him. But every time we get to a tournament, it's like we have to play each other. Okay, now we can't bounce ideas off each other. We
Yeah.
have to hide strats.
Ah.
And so I used to talk with him a lot. It's one of those things. He's like, okay, now that we're out, now we can talk strats
Right.
again. Like, this is literally what we were talking about when we were in after Burbank. It's
Right.
like, okay,
That's your silver lining.
Burbank ended that night. We were just like, okay, now we can talk strats again. Now we can bounce ideas off each other.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah, this has been a great show. I'm getting better at this. You did a great job. I am Sahara Drac. You can follow the Storm Legacy Twitter there. We have a YouTube where I do commentaries, and this show, in case you missed any of it or you wanted to watch it, will be on our YouTube channel within 24 hours. It'll also be on our Twitch, obviously. Yeah, PG Yuujers. Anyone you want to shout out before we go?
I mean, shout out to my team, Panda Global. Like, they're great guys. PG's been really, helpful. They helped us they helped us prep for Burbank too. So with the whole boot camp thing.
Right.
So big shout out to Panda Global, and shout out to Gale Force. Good luck in Sweden.
For sure. For sure.
So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks. Yeah, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing you play next in the next upcoming events.
And one last thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Follow my stream at
Yes,
twitch.tv/UuijLOL. I gotta plug myself.
Say it again. Say it again.
Twitch.tv/UuijLOL.
There you go. Yeah, definitely follow.
And it's not because I played League of Legends. I just like laughing out loud.
Oh, good.
That's
good news. And how often do you stream? What do you have a stream schedule or anything like that?
So right now I'm trying to stream as much as I can. I kind of have a break right now, so I'm streaming usually from around 5 to 6 CST, and I'll stream till whenever I get hungry.
Cool. Good plan.
Because since I usually, I grab lunch and then, I eat a little bit before I start streaming, since I usually wake up pretty late these days.
Yeah.
Get some food, and then I start streaming until I'm hungry at that point. And when I'm hungry,
man.
I stop streaming.
I remember being young.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Awesome, man.
I mean, I have the time to do that right now. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Cool, man. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Oops, wrong button.